Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another week of school. I hope you guys had a really great first week. It's been so great getting back into the swing of things. And this week, I'm going to start off with another book talk. Remember what I said last week. Now that you guys are in third grade, I'm not really reading a lot of picture books to you guys anymore, but I still want to get you guys interested in all the different books out there. So every now and then I'm going to do a book talk. A book talk is where I don't read the whole book. I just read part of a chapter book. And the hope is that after I've told you about this book, you might be interested in it, and then maybe it's something that you want to read. Okay, so I always call it like a commercial for a book. Now, the book I want to show you guys today is a classic. I don't know if you remember, but I've mentioned in the past the 3 things that make up a classic. Okay, here's number 1. It's got to be something old. Okay, it's got to be something that's been around for a while. It can't be a new book that just came out. Okay, it's a classic. It's been around for a while. Number 2, it's really popular. It's well known. A lot of people have heard of this book. Number 3, it is considered to be great. Okay, and opinions are opinions. Okay, some people might think this book is really great, other people might not like it, but generally if we call a book a classic, a lot of people really like it. And this is a book that I grew up loving. It is called Tales of a Fourth Grade Nothing by Judy Blume. And let me tell you guys, one of my all-time favorite writers is Judy Blume. I read all of her books when I was a kid, and to be honest, her books were kind of old when I was growing up, all right? You can always find out how old a book is by going to the copyright page. So let's go to the copyright page. Let's see, it's the page where there's all this little tiny writing on it. But you can find the copyright date. It's usually a C with a circle around it, and that will tell you the year that the book was published. This book was published in the year 1972. So it is almost 50 years old, this book. Like I said, this book, even when I was reading it, I remember thinking like, oh, this book's from a while ago. But the story in this book, the characters of this book, is something that I think a lot of you can relate to, definitely. Okay, but you have to realize sometimes when you're reading a book that's, 50 years old, some of the references are going to be a little dated, okay? And actually, the one thing I noticed in the first chapter that I'm going to read in this book is there is a character who is an elevator operator. And that's a job that we don't really have nowadays, but way back a long time ago when people lived in large apartment buildings, there would be a person who was an elevator operator. And basically they would be the one who would say, oh, hello, good day, what floor are you going to? They put the button in, they'd help people with packages and things like that. But nowadays, generally, we don't have elevator operators. Usually people push their own buttons, okay? But that was a job, 50 years ago in New York City, which is where this is set. Many apartment buildings had an elevator operator. So just wanted to point that out because I know that's something a little more dated. Okay, so let me get into the first chapter of this book. Like I said, even though this book is almost 50 years old, I think you can totally relate to the trouble that the main character has in this book. So I'm going to read the first chapter and then I'll tell you a little more about it. So chapter 1, The Big Winner. I won dribble at Jimmy Fargo's birthday party. All the other guys got to take home goldfish in little plastic bags. I won him because I guessed there were 348 jelly beans in Mrs. Fargo's jar. Really, there were 423, she told us later. Still, my guess was the closest. Peter Warren Hatcher is the big winner, Mrs. Fargo announced. At first, I felt bad that I didn't get a goldfish too. Then Jimmy handed me a glass bowl. Inside, there was some water and 3 rocks. A tiny green turtle was sleeping on the biggest rock. All the other guys looked at their goldfish. I knew what they were thinking. They wish they could have a tiny green turtle too. I named my turtle Dribble while I was walking home from Jimmy's party. I live at 25 West 68th Street. It's an old apartment building, but it's got one of the best elevators in New York City. There are mirrors all around. You can see yourself from every angle. There's a soft cushioned bench to sit on if you're too tired to stand. The elevator operator's name is Henry Bevelheimer. He lets us call him Henry because Bevelheimer is very hard to say. Our apartment is on the 12th floor, but I don't have to tell Henry. He already knows. He knows everybody in the building. He is that smart. He even knows that I'm 9 and I'm in 4th grade. I show him Dribble right away. I want him at a birthday party, I said. Henry smiled. Your mother is going to be surprised. Henry was right. My mother was really surprised. Her mouth opened when I said, just look what I won at Jimmy Fargo's birthday party. I held up my tiny green turtle. I've already named him Dribble. Isn't that a great name for a turtle? My mother made a face. I don't like the way he smells, she said. What do you mean? I asked. I put my nose right down close to him. I didn't smell anything but turtle. So Dribble smells like a turtle, I thought. Well, he's supposed to. That's what he is. And I'm not going to take care of him either, my mother added. Of course you're not, I told her. He's my turtle, and I'm the one who's going to take care of him. And you're going to change his water and clean his bowl and feed him and all of that, she asked. Yes, I said. And even more, I'm going to see to it that he's happy. This time my mother made a funny noise, like a groan. I went into my bedroom. I put Dribble on top of my dresser. I tried to pet him and tell him he would be happy living with me, but it isn't easy to pet a turtle. They aren't soft and furry, and they don't lick you or anything. Still, I had my own pet at last. Later, when I sat down at the dinner table, my mother said, "Ugh, I smell turtle. Peter, go and scrub your hands." Now, some people might think that my mother is my biggest problem. She doesn't like turtles, and she's always telling me to scrub my hands. And that doesn't mean just run them under the water. Scrub means I'm supposed to use soap and rub my hands together. Then I've got to rinse and dry them. I ought to know by now. I've heard it enough. But my mother isn't my biggest problem. Neither is my father. He spends a lot of time watching commercials on TV. That's because he's in the advertising business. These days, his favorite commercial is the one about Juicio. He wrote it himself. And the president of the Juicio company liked it so much, he sent my father a whole crate of Juicio for our family to drink. It tastes like a combination of oranges, pineapples, grapefruits, pear, and bananas. And if you want to know the truth, I'm getting pretty sick of drinking it. But Juicio isn't my biggest problem either. My biggest problem is my brother, Farley Drexel Hatcher. He's 2.5 years old. Everybody calls him Fudge. I feel sorry for him if he's going to grow up with a name like Fudge, but I don't say a word. It's none of my business. Fudge is always in my way. He messes up everything he sees. And when he gets mad, he throws himself flat on the floor and he screams and he kicks and he bangs his fists. The only time I really like him is when he's sleeping. He sucks 4 fingers on his left hand and makes a slurping noise. When Fudge saw Dribble, he said, "Oh, see." And I said, "That's my turtle. Get it? Mine. You don't touch him." Fudge said, "No touch." Then he laughed like crazy. All right, so that is the first chapter of this book. We know we have a main character, Peter Warren Hatcher. He's also the narrator of the story, so we're getting everything from Peter's point of view. And what is it that's Peter's biggest problem? Is it his mom? No. Is it his dad? No. It's his bratty little brother. He has a bratty little brother named Fudge who throws a fit and destroys everything. Now, can any of you relate out there? Who out there has a bratty little sibling that gets in their way all the time? Now let me ask you this. Who out there is the bratty little sibling that gets in everyone's way? Ooh, some of you aren't being honest right now. All right, friends. So I know this book is 50 years old, but you guys can relate to this, a lot of you, because many of us have siblings, okay? And maybe we're the older sibling who has a younger one that's always annoying us, or maybe some of us are the younger sibling that annoys our older brother or older sister. And if you don't have siblings, maybe you have a cousin or a friend who's always hanging around that can drive you crazy, okay? So we can relate to this, my friends, and we know in the first chapter, Peter got a turtle. And he told his brother, don't touch that turtle. Who thinks by the end of the book something's going to happen to that turtle? I don't know. I'm not telling you, okay? You've got to read this book to find out. And I promise you, you will love it, okay? It's Tales of the Fourth Grade Nothing by Judy Blume, one of my all-time favorites. Have a great week, everybody. Love ya. Bye.